Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the June, I don't know why I said June, the September 14th, 2021 Clemson Public Arts and Culture Commission meeting to order. First on the agenda tonight is opening up the public session. So I'd like to open the public session for anyone who's watching remotely, watching the live stream, or anyone here publicly who would like to address the council. Or I should say the commission. Anyone here like to comment in the public session? And Rick, do we have anyone?
We do.
Okay. So hearing no wish to communicate in person in the public session, and not having one on the live stream, we'll go ahead and close the public session. All of us received a copy of the August meeting minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or suggestions to add to the minutes? Okay, so would somebody like to offer a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you for making the motion to approve the minutes. Does somebody want a second?
Second.
Okay, Mia seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Okay, great. The minutes from the August meeting are approved. In the reports and discussion, we have 3 items. So the first one tonight is the garden shed mural proposal presented by Kathy Robinson. Joan, would you like to talk with us and tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So Kathy is actually going to do a little presentation. She reached out to me about a garden shed that is over by the United Methodist Church and Clemson Park off of Frontage Road. And I thought it's a public area, and I thought it might be great for the commission to hear what she'd like to do and possibly fund her project and for a mural. So,
Okay, terrific.
this is
Rick,
Kathy.
should Kathy come up to the mic here?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to collect any information from Kathy, like at council meetings, address, or anything along those lines? Joan, do you know? You know what, Kathy, for the record, could you just say?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, that I don't know.
My name is Kathy Robinson. I live at 342 Issaquena Trail here in Clemson. And I want to thank you so much for all your work you do for the city and for taking the time to listen to my proposal. Let's see. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Rick, thank you so much for running the slides for me. The project title is a garden-themed mural for the Clemson Community Garden Shed, and the purpose of the project is to provide visually interesting public art along the Clemson Park Trail in the form of a garden-themed mural on a garden shed. I'm a Clemson resident with a garden plot in the Clemson Community Garden located on the United Methodist Church property adjacent to Clemson Park, which is off of Frontage Road. I have also recently become a board member of the Green Crescent Trail. We are an organization whose mission is to link parks in the Clemson, Central, and Pendleton area with safe and accessible active transportation trails. If I have the next slide, please. The city of Clemson has recently put in a biking trail at Clemson Park as part of this network of trails. The trail is adjacent to the garden plots, and 2 small community garden sheds were moved to accommodate the trail. It's the concrete trail you see here to the left. You see the sheds in the distance. While I've been walking to my community garden plot this spring and summer, I've been using the new trail and noticed how the garden sheds are much more visible in their new spot. And then I began to view them as perfect canvases for garden-themed murals, thus enhancing the experience of using the trail with public art. As I mentioned, the Clemson Community Garden is located on the United Methodist Church property adjacent to Clemson Park. It consists of approximately 20 plots, each of about 10 feet by 40 feet. The 2 small garden sheds contain equipment for use by those who have plots. Next slide, please. Closer view of the sheds. The City of Clemson's Parks and Recreation Department has a lease agreement with the United Methodist Church to have the plots on their property. Clemson Parks mows and maintains the area and owns the sheds. There are currently 2 sheds, but the wooden one is in disrepair and will probably be replaced in the future. Therefore, this proposal is for the garden-themed mural to be painted on the newer metal shed. It is 8 feet wide by 10 feet long by 7 feet high, about 252 square feet. The next slides I have are just some ideas of inspiration for things that I thought might possibly, could be done for the mural. I'm envisioning something very colorful with large format flowers, vegetables, and insects, pollinator insects. So this first one is from, I think, actually it's the door of a garden shed in a community garden in a Florida community garden. The next one is at a garden center in North Carolina, and they used that mural for educational purposes as well. And the next one I saw online was just something I thought would be kind of interesting to maybe incorporate the themes of the Green Crescent Trail with like a bicycle with the garden theme as well. In terms of permission, I sought initial approval for this idea from Tony Tidwell, Clemson Parks and Recreation Horticulturalist, because the sheds are city property. He thought it was a great idea, but he noted that I needed to get approval from the United Methodist Church because the city currently leases their land for the garden and the sheds are on their property. Mayor Robert Halfacre contacted a pastor on my behalf, Pastor Fran Elrod, and he sent his initial approval via email to Mr. Halfacre, copied to me, and I believe you have copies of those emails from both Tony Tidwell and Pastor Fran Elrod supporting the project. In terms of involvement, my idea is to engage families, more specifically children, in the community to voluntarily paint the mural under the direction of the designer. My original thought was that the project could be done as a class or a special workshop through the Clemson Arts Center. But Joan Phillips, the Arts Center director, informed me that all public arts projects must meet approval from the Arts and Culture Commission, and that's why I'm here. In terms of budget, I asked Joan for some help with this, and the idea is perhaps an estimate of $3,000 to $5,000 for the project. This would include all supplies and a stipend for the designer. I would still like to see the painting of the mural completed by volunteers, especially families with children under the direction of the designer if possible. And I also would like to make a donation toward the project should it be approved. So thank you for your time. I hope you will be able to fund this project, one that I believe will provide a sense of identity for the garden and enhance the experience of those using the park, the trail, and the garden. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I do not have an art background. It's just something that occurred to me as I was walking to my community garden this summer.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, Kathy.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get clarification. I have to confess, it was a little bit hard for me to hear.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
I apologize. No, it's not your fault. I think it's me. So we have confirmation that the shed belongs to the city of Clemson, but it's situated or sited on the Clemson United Methodist property. So I guess, Joan, I'm wondering, given the guidance you've provided us earlier, to me that is a question that would need to be resolved. It's city property, but it's on private property.
Right. So I'll double check that. I think because the sheds belong to the city, it is okay as long as the pastor okays the design. But I will double check with that.
Okay. And Kathy, have you created like a budget and any kind of I really appreciated the inspiration
Right.
that you provided. Have you put together anything from a materials cost? You said you wanted to pay something to the designer,
Right. Right.
kind of an outlay of where
Right.
the $5,000 you would propose go?
Well, Joan was the one who sort of advised me on this because I didn't really know where to start, and I had no idea. She was, I think, referring to the Unity mural that was done downtown as a sort of
For guidance.
yeah, for guidance. And so, in terms of labor, I wanted to have volunteer labor, so I don't know if that would reduce, the cost. And in terms of a stipend for a designer, again, I don't know what the going rate. They're paid by the hour, or they're paid by the square footage, and for paint, I didn't think it would cost that much. I kind of was just calculating offhand maybe $400 for paint, something like 15 quarter gallons or something like 15 different colors, because I think paint, maybe a gallon would be used for primer and then a smaller amount. So I didn't see paint as such a huge expense. It's maybe the cost of someone who design it. I didn't know if, like I said, if it could be even done by a competition of, maybe not so much a formal designer. I just don't know. To tell you the truth. This is just an idea that occurred to me, and I wanted to pursue it. And again, I'm just not sure. So I don't know what your next step is. If you were to approve it, would you send out a request for proposals?
Yeah, well, so I think the guidance we've received from the city is that if folks come to us and they want to propose a project in the city, on city property, that we would consider and discuss the proposal and then make a recommendation to the city council, give our feedback about that. And again, I'm thrilled that you came to see us, and I think it's a really interesting idea. I think it would be helpful to us, and we couldn't, my understanding how things work in terms of the city council and commissions. You're coming today, we wouldn't be able to put it on our agenda till our next meeting, so that we have time to look at a little bit more like your PowerPoint and kind of reading through that, and then we could consider your request at our next meeting, consider the proposal that you provide to us, and I think you could give that to Joan, and then we could vote on it at our next meeting. So I think that would give you some time. And Joan, as our city representative, I'm looking for you to correct anything along
No,
the way.
you're good so far.
Okay.
I think we would definitely need a budget, which I can help you, I think, figure that out. And I just need to make sure about the shed, because I figured since it was city property, it would be okay, but it does sit on somebody else's property. So they're being very strict about that. So I just need to double check that.
Okay. And I wanted to see if any of the other commissioners have questions.
I do have questions. I'm so excited. This is a great idea. And I go to that church and I walk that trail, so that would be lovely to see. I recently, I don't know if you've been by the elementary school, but I worked with a Girl Scout group. I'm the troop leader to repaint all of the playground United States map, and it's amazing how far paint will go.
Right.
You really don't need that much
Yeah.
paint. I really do think $300 to $400 max in materials sounds about right.
Okay.
We actually, Home Depot donated the paint.
That's another thing I thought about as well.
That's another thing to think about. If you're looking to use volunteer work, like a Girl Scout troop,
Right.
or I think this project could be very minimal.
Well, I was a little shocked when Sean told me the
Yeah.
price.
And if you wanted to have a contest for an artwork submission, we would have to agree that would be a good idea for the community. But when you start to talk about vegetables and flowers, I have an art background, so it's a little bit different for me, but I feel like I could go do that tomorrow. You know, it's not something like a big,
Right.
huge wall
Right, and I didn't.
downtown that you're painting.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't. My original thought was that it could be maybe a program run through the arts.
Yeah.
You know.
But because it was
center.
public and we're trying to do, you know, you are doing public, we are doing programming, I thought, well, let's bring
Yeah.
it to the commission. When we were, you know, we didn't know if it should be a professional artist, like if we were, I don't know, I'm still a little unsure. If it comes to the commission, do we have to do an RFP? Like what is, we have to find that out too. Like what, I mean, can you say, yeah, we'll give you $400 to do this project and we'll just get volunteers or schools to do it? Or do we, if you're using commission money, city money, do we have to put out an RFP? And from what I'm gathering from other projects, you would have to put out an RFP. And that's a whole different.
Well, the public art plan that was adopted has commissions in there,
So
so.
we could commission, Kathy you could commission Kathy, I guess, to do it, right?
We could for the
Okay,
public
so
art
that's how
plan.
we could get
And-
around
I
that.
think the competition too, I wanted to speak to that, and I'm glad that you brought it up, it's an exciting piece, and it's also to get more community involvement. I was just wondering what outlets are, means by which, and you may have to take time to think about this,
Yeah.
where you would want to get that, competition, going.
Right.
So you could commission Kathy to be the lead on this and say you have this much money to do it. Here are the guidelines. I'm assuming that's how we could do it, but
Kathy, we did a contest for the mural that ended up on Judge Keller's wall, so, and the city staff helped us with that if that was something you were interested
Yeah, I mean,
in.
I thought about
like-
a competition perhaps.
Having artists submit proposals for us to consider and putting it out for the community to vote, like they did it on social media and they had a number people could text to,
Right,
and it was
right.
open for a certain time, and the public picked the design, which, is a nice way of engaging the public, and, I think that's something.
And was this, were there professional artists that were submitting?
It was. We put out a call and asked for proposals, and then we considered all of the proposals we got, and we narrowed it down to 3. And then we put those 3 submissions out on Facebook, and we put it, I think, on maybe, I don't know if the city has Instagram or Twitter.
yeah, we did Instagram. They put them out at different stores.
And
We
we got
actually don't have an
people
Instagram we actually do not have an Instagram for Public Art Cultural Commission. So
the city,
it's-
the city has an arts one.
Okay.
Lindsay runs it, so I'll find out what the exact title is of that. But I know she had it. So yeah. No, I know that artist was paid a stipend for that mural too.
But I would also say, though, the gentleman who did the Unity mural, he came with a proposal, like, this is what I want to paint.
Right.
And then he painted that, like,
Right.
he didn't ask for, like, community engagement or for a
Right,
vote on it, so it doesn't have to be that way.
But they did, we did have even though initially it was that way, he had like 3 versions, and they were able to kind of.
You're right, Mia, I stand
You're right,
corrected.
no,
Okay.
initially it was the way you said it.
But
then-
we made a recommendation
Right.
internally, whereas the one on Judge Keller's, the community voted,
Right.
and the
Right.
top one was the one that was,
Right.
the top vote getter, that artist got to paint the mural.
What I'm hearing from you, though, is that you see an opportunity to add color and art
Right.
to a community space, and you're pretty open to whether it's volunteers or
Right,
local
exactly.
artists or
I just had the idea and just wanted
Right.
to present, because I'm not sure exactly
right,
how
and
to
so
proceed.
you're asking for our guidance. Is
Right,
that right?
exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, that's the case, because I don't have an art background, and I just had the idea and wanted to see what could be done
I think it's a
to
great
fulfill the idea.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I think we need to just discuss
You said during the next meeting?
on, like, and have an answer for her.
Right.
And be able to read what's going up on the screen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
can you not see?
So I would
There
also
were
say,
paragraphs. I could see that, but there were some paragraphs.
I don't think you have it in slide presentation mode. That's the problem, one of the problems, I think, too.
I think we need guidance about if the shed remains on private property. But I also think, has somebody from the city looked at it? Like, is it paintable? Has our
No, I
facilities-
haven't been out there. Tony said it was. She's spoken with Tony, and he said,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's all for it. So,
I assume it'd probably have to be primed with some sort of primer before it could be painted, but I don't know for sure about that.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I mean, if you would like me to send you a copy of the PowerPoint, and I think Joan said you all had a copy of my proposal or not?
yeah, they all have a copy of the proposal. I did not send them the letters. I'll show them
Oh,
the
okay,
letters.
okay.
If you send me the PowerPoint, I'll send
Sure.
it to all of them.
Yeah,
And then I'll definitely find out about the information about the shed being city property, but on private.
I know, that is a little bit of a different situation, I'm sure, for some of the things, so.
Yeah, that's a first.
Yeah, that could be a lovely thing for people out on the trail
Right.
to walk by and see.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you again for your time,
Thank you.
and
Thank
look forward
you.
to hearing
Thank
back
you.
from you.
Thank you, Kathy. I'll be in touch with you, sure. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, Joan, do you want to provide an update on the dockside project?
Yeah, so I spoke with Brent Little, the developer, and we had only received two proposals after the RFP that we put out. So we went back and forth, and I asked if he wanted, us to do another process. Did he want us to pay for, or did he want to pay for cafe, so we could do a better call? It's a call for artists that's more what sculptors and public artists use. He decided that he was going to use both artists that gave an RFP. So he is having Joey Manson develop a sculpture, as well as a group titled the Carolina Bronze Group. And they are developing a sculpture. So he has moved on, and they're going to have art just like we had discussed. And he's using two local groups. So,
Okay, terrific, thank you for that update.
yeah, sure.
Jen, are these are both outside or just Joey's is outside?
They're both outside, and they'll be in the circle where you would pull up to there's going to be a apartment complex there. So he had talked about putting two sculptures at like the entrance, and then one in the middle. And then he also talked about putting a sculpture by the boardwalk, over by the water area, but he had talked about using students, so I'm not sure if they're going to build something over there or not.
Okay. I heard that there might be multiple artists, that's the reason why. I was asking.
Yeah, so he said he's using Joey and the Carolina Bronze.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Joan about that? Okay, well, next on the agenda is Julie, and Julie got stuck at the airport
Yeah.
in terms of continuing the conversation about our public art plan. What would you all like to do about that?
I think we had some different homework that we were going to work on. I know Meredith has
I have,
some
I
things
can
to
report
report
on
back,
that.
and I have some things to report.
Okay,
back on
terrific.
that. I was wondering, can I email you some photos to? I can. Okay. What?
To City of Clemson, at City of Clemson.
City of Clemson at cityofclemson.org. Okay.
And
Okay,
while
do you wanna
she's
go
doing
first?
that, I can go ahead and do.
Okay,
Yes.
Meredith.
So we had kind of broken down next steps in our workshop meeting, and my next step was to research some trash can designs for artists, and using Greenville as our model. I called and spoke to Alan Etheridge, who's over Metropolitan Arts Council in Greenville, and the trash cans that we see downtown that have the artwork on them are actually 8 recycling bins in the downtown area, so they don't take place of actual trash cans. They have a contest that accepts applicants each year, local artists. There's an art show at MAC, and they are charged to create within 24 hours these pieces of artwork, and then a juror actually picks the top 8. They win cash prizes, $300 to $1,000, and the highest scoring artist actually gets an all expense paid trip to a Italian villa, which is sponsored by their one of their board members. So the bins are actually out of Toronto. Alan didn't remember the company name, but by Googling it, I was able to find out the information, and TPM in Greenville actually does the wraps. And they worked with the Greenville City Public Works to have the recycling bins permanently installed. These bins don't actually take the place of trash cans, like I said, but they are there to promote a more eco-friendly environment, greener spaces, and what have you. He thinks the costs were around $5,500 each, so times that by 8, that was like $44,000 plus the cost of the wraps initially, and then it's just the cost of the wraps after that. I know that wasn't exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for art on trash cans, but it's, I think the takeaway here is that it's been done successfully, and however we want to move forward with that, and identifying places and deciding if it is going to be recycling or is it going to be on actual trash cans. And so that's all I have from there.
Also like the idea of the competition in that way. So, you know, the top 8 being compensated, and I just thought that made it kind of fun.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Right, and the artists are compensated for their work. Obviously, that would be our biggest takeaway is, you know, whoever wins would get something for their artwork. I was thinking in my head, I don't think that we necessarily have to say, artists, you have to create something in 24 hours. But that's just how they have
Make
it
it fun.
set up. But I just thought that was just a wonderful thing that they were doing, and they actually got the idea from Toronto, Canada. But that's all I had to report on that.
Any questions, Meredith? Thank you. Jennifer, are you,
So
are your
I,
slides pulled up?
Meredith and I did a little research on artists. This is by far the one that seems the most professionally done, the most sturdy, and he's got lots of experience. I'm trying to find his name. I'm sure what slide is on.
Very nice.
Oscar Alvarado is the artist's name.
And what is this for?
This is for the park.
Shanklin Park, right?
Yes. Over by School of Beans.
What park? I'm sorry. What was the name of the park?
Shapeland Sam's area, it actually doesn't have park in its name, but everybody calls it a park. It's the one that the Boy Scouts did such a lovely job of like marking out a botanical pathway, and they actually installed some benches along the way so you could appreciate, and they have the QR codes. But right now there is nothing down in that park for someone to sit on. There's some temporary things that were put by architectural class that just hasn't been removed. It was a project in the springtime, but it's not necessarily seating, nor is it something that the city asked to be in the park, but it just hasn't been removed. So this was, when you think of that area, you think of that space, and it's downtown. It's a place that is so close to Spill the Beans, and just encouraging people to go to support their businesses, local businesses, as well as, you know, just go around the corner and have this lovely space, which doesn't even have a trash can in it, much less seating. So if you wanted to do yoga or just walk in the grass, that would be great. But to sit and have an ice cream, or just to kind of have a grown-up date, or even a playful place for young and old alike. That wasn't a jungle gym, because we have a lot of jungle gyms. That this was certainly a kind of a brainstorming idea of, you know, what could go in that.
And
Did
he's
you have
very,
any costs posted? They're very nice. Like you said, sturdy. It's very
right,
attractive.
well, he's very
It fits what we
capable
want.
of also doing scenes, and I know we talked about having someone put, like on this one, like you could have some of the history of Clemson told in the mosaic. I have not reached out to him because I didn't think that I should yet. I wanted to get some instruction on how to go about doing that. I've got his contact. He is from, he did this artwork in Texas. So he's definitely a plane ride away. But I just wanted to get your feedback before I reach out to him. Is this something that you like? Is this something we want to move forward with? I could get more information. Is this something that we think we can get the Clemson architecture along with the Clemson arts, visual arts, collaborating together? I don't know the answer to that, but this guy does know what he's doing. I can tell by the structures.
Do you think there may be grants that could cater to this? Because if, it could be possibly price prohibitive if it's, costly, but not if we could get other funding for it.
Well, I think the missing piece to all of this is Julie Peters that has kind of the wrap up for the workshop, and where this is actually we said in 2023, I think within 2 years, and we have mapped out like these are the things that we would like to do in first year, second year, 5 years, and 10 years. So figuring out how much money we have for those 1 year projects and those 2 year projects, and then the 5 years, I think that's what we kind of, not trying to put the cart before the horse, because this is our homework. Like, we were supposed to find artists, we were supposed to figure out what to do within these spaces. But going back to looking at all the things that we need to do in that 1 year, and then that's the money that we have allotted for that 1 year. So we can kind of figure out, okay, can we even afford this type of project? He seems to be the one that knows what he's doing, but there could be another artist.
No, I'm not against it at all. I was just looking at it as very well done. It's very beautiful.
It is very beautiful.
I just know that well done and beautiful comes with a price tag, and it deserves it. I just want to
Absolutely.
make sure, you know, if there are other outlets in addition to the monies that we would have,
I
then we
think-
could guarantee that it could be taken care of.
I think that I would have to measure the space that he would have to work with, and because he's
Right.
done so many of these
Right.
types of seating, he would be able to give me an
An estimate on
estimated
that.
cost pretty easily without even seeing the space. I could send pictures and measurements. And he does smaller benches too, and we could tuck a small one here and a small one there, and it doesn't have to. The park naturally has like a semicircle, doesn't it? But it doesn't have to go all the way around. I'm sure that would cut back on cost, but we could get estimates for both.
Right.
I think we talked about Shanklin Park being one of the first areas that we looked at. We talked about the trash cans too. I think we talked about Gateway Park as starting to think about that, because that could take a really long time. There's so much to do in Gateway Park. And I'm just going to throw this out for consideration and look to Joan for guidance. I think we need to know, like, for example, Meredith, you put out the price tag, you know, $5,500, right, is what you said per garbage can. Like, what do we, at our next meeting, what do we want to consider, like, having on the agenda? To consider purchasing X number of garbage cans, or do we want to say consider sculptural bench seating piece in Shanklin Park, and consider whatever we need to do in Gateway Park in light of the money that we have, and discuss and talk about that and take a vote on that. And then I think we need to go to the city council then to get their approval on that. But I think we need to know, and again, I'm not the expert here, but I think we need to know some specifics for us to be able to discuss and offer motions for consideration on whether we want to move forward, recommend this to the city council, and then we need to go to the city council for approval. So,
And this isn't the full picture. Like, we're reporting on 2 homework assignments. There was like 6.
Right.
So we need to know, like, what
Yeah,
were
right.
the rest of the homework assignments?
And I may have been misunderstanding. You guys, I mean, have it all together and have the pictures up. And I'm taking, you know, and jumping forward and thinking, oh, they're ready to, you know, move forward and talking about this. And you want to go back and do more homework before doing that. I understand that now.
Absolutely. We
I
need,
understand that now.
we need
This
to
is
know,
research.
I need to know, do we want Clemson images in these mosaics too? Because I think that would make a difference in cost. I want to communicate with the artist to get the best estimate that we can take forward if we decide tonight that you want me to do that. I didn't want to contact an artist across the country.
And I don't think that we're there yet, because we still have to, one of the takeaways for the workshop was actually presenting to city council our plan, and we haven't done that yet. So we're...
But that's an investigative step, though, right? Just
Yeah,
finding
this
out.
is just investigation.
Yeah, and even with her contacting him, I don't think that
Yeah,
is
we
a
can
big
at least
problem.
find out costs, because with
Well,
Alan, I was like, okay, how much were these? I'm curious.
I think we do need costs next
Right.
to
Yeah.
the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I concur
Totally.
that we need an estimate of how much.
Right.
And that's not an issue at all. I'm sure people contact him to find out things.
Right.
He doesn't, that's not a
Right.
guarantee of, you know, contract. That's just finding out
Right.
information. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that you guys liked it enough for me to move forward.
I think it's
contact him.
definitely worthy of you contacting the artist
Okay.
and talking further with the artist.
Okay.
And learning more. I mean, if it's cost prohibitive, but we want to do it, it may be that we have to say this is going to happen in 2023 or 2024 when we have the money for it, and and we're putting our money towards that. Or maybe we can do the trash cans, phase those in, like year 1, year 2, year 3, but we have to know what they cost and where we would envision putting them.
And Clemson is a bigger downtown than us, so I don't foresee us needing 8, but it was just good to know how many they
Yeah.
had. And I did ask him if there was any a decision to like just continue to expand the project in downtown, and he said that no, that the project is what it is. So it wasn't a matter of like we only had money to do 8, but we're gonna do 4. So I think that would also be something that would be in our consideration, is like we only had money to do 2 this year. Like what's going to be our end game? So.
And I think we'd have to have all this information for us to put it on the agenda and consider it. We have to have it like, I don't know how far in advance of our meeting.
I think it's about a week in advance.
Pardon me?
A week in advance to get it on. A week in advance to get it on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'd have to have it 3 weeks from tonight, like have the pieces put together on that plan.
Do we need a motion for her to do the research, or how do you want to do that? Because I'm for, you doing that, making the call, doing the measurements, and figuring it out. But I want to make sure we do it procedurally how we need to do it.
We're not making any decisions except to say that we like the idea and that
She just
I
wants to
should
know
reach
she
out
can do
to
the
the
research.
artist.
out and to look into that some more.
I'll just give him
Okay.
what I think
Okay.
he needs to maybe give us estimates on
Yeah.
one long piece that winds around that shape, that natural shape, to leave a lot of the grassy area. And then maybe another quote for
Individual.
several individual.
I will say that I had emailed this morning, Joan Boric. The mayor reached out to me about crosswalks, and he was really interested in having the crosswalks, like some sort of artistic thing in the crosswalks. I had mentioned we had done that in San Jose. It is a process, but it's if we can get it done, it's a cool thing. So I thought Joe would talk about it when you talked about when you got to this point in the agenda. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there is interest in crosswalks.
Did you see the pathway
Yeah, I saw
on
that.
there?
Yeah. We in San Jose had to work with DOT and transportation in the city. It was quite a process, but the mayor is already behind it. So
Would the mayor send us something or an email for us to consider something, Joan?
he sent this morning. He just sent a sample. He's been traveling a lot and looking at other places. So he sent me he just sent me a link, and I sent it on to Joan. I can send you all I'll forward it to you. I thought maybe Joan would take care of that, but yeah, I can forward it to you. I just thought it's low-hanging fruit, and it looks like it's something he's interested in and could get behind. So I'll forward you the email.
I did a excursion to Spartanburg, and they have a lot of public art, and one of the things that they have downtown is a lot of painted crosswalks. So I think that we could definitely look at just if we wanted to take a field trip to some place that has I also have some pictures that I could share as well.
And I can ask, when I'm asking about the shed anyway, I can ask what would that process entail? Like, where would we start?
Right.
Like, would I start with somebody here who's already a department head in the city, and someone who can walk you through the process? So I can find that out too. But it's great that the mayor's already behind it. So
That's great.
I was in Georgetown, DC last weekend, and I noticed they had a Georgetown Glow event, and I just wanted to stick a link in an email to you guys. I know I'm not guess we're all researching everything, aren't we? But I wanted to send an email to you guys just to look at that glow
Okay.
idea that Joan had to grasp people's attention, a more affordable way, I think less permanent way to let people know that the park is there before we really start.
Yeah, and I
Investing a lot
think,
of money.
one thing that John and I had a conversation about was to try to get with Andy to talk with him about the steps that would need to happen with Gateway Park and what kind of time horizon we'd be looking at for, like, cleaning up the park, doing something with lighting in the park and making it a place that people want to go, and then what would the time horizon would look like and the cost for, like, figuring out sighting locations within the park. And I think we have a good model with the Malden Art Trail of a city our size and what they did to get a program started to consider. So I think that's 4 things right there that are, and what Carol proposed tonight. I mean, 5 things that's for the near term a lot to consider, and having budget to, not, if we don't have all that budget there, then making some decisions about how we are going to spend the money or seeking out additional funds through grants or through the city.
I have a question. I wonder, because I noticed the Georgetown Glow
And I just pulled it up. I
event
like,
is just a month long or 2 months long, and then all the installations are taken down, and they're already doing calls for next year's Glow event. What happens to all those huge installations? And could we reach out to their Glow event to say, would artists be interested in installing them in our park? Because they're already built and they're being taken down and they're too big to put in someone's apartment and keep.
I love that thinking, Jennifer.
Yeah.
just transport.
It's just like the botanical gardens too, near Myrtle Beach. I mean, it's like, are they gonna use those over and over again? And if not, then,
I mean, there's a lot of things that do travel, like a lot of artworks.
Would you mind, I'm so sorry, would you mind speaking up a little bit? I'm
Sure.
having trouble hearing.
I just know that a lot of artwork, if it's like an installation, if it's in one place for, let's say, a month, 2 months, whatever, I mean, it does travel around the country or in a certain region. So that is something to look at, like with what you're talking about with the Georgetown Globe. So.
Would you like me to reach out and ask, because the installations are being taken down next week?
I think it's smart. I mean, that's my view. And all you can get a yes or no,
Yeah.
or maybe, right? It's a transportation, and if it's, if they were going to, hopefully not, but if they were going to dispose of them,
Right.
this is a much, better option.
Right.
I did
Jennifer,
wonder,
I think that would be fantastic to see, what you can learn about that.
Great.
I did want to go back to a discussion that we had prior to the workshop, which was once we had our plan in place from the workshop, we needed to present to the city.
Right.
Do we need to go ahead and create that document and decide like what day we were going to do that, and just decide on what we were actually going to present?
I think, yes, Meredith, with the
Okay.
details that you provided today, with the cost of what it might
Okay.
cost for Shanklin, and then what it might cost to get started in this fiscal year with Gateway Park, if that's the wet route we want to go. And what, if we want to support Carol's initiative, like what that would cost.
Okay.
And if we want to support crosswalks too, given the mayor's interest in that. I mean, to me, that we would have those all outlined for this fiscal year with everything else that we talked about that would happen in next fiscal year, but we wouldn't be pressed on getting the cost for that right now. But I think we do have to go to them to say, this is what we'd like to do in this fiscal year, and this is how much it's going to cost.
Do we want to give ourselves 2 months, 3 months to do that? I'm saying that because
To
the
get
next
to the
meeting,
city?
the next
I was-
meeting, she'll have that details included.
Yeah,
Just saying, you want to get on the schedule, you want to make sure you have all these details.
I would love to do it next month.
When is the
hold
next
on,
city council
when is our meeting?
Next week,
Let's,
When's the next one after our next commission
after
meeting?
your next commission meeting. So about a first
we need,
And I guess it's all up to the speed with which you can get those numbers, like
Right.
her numbers, the numbers y'all got. And I was just giving, you know,
Yeah.
cushion, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be the 18th, October 18th, and we meet on October 12th.
We would have to give the plan that we want to present in its ready form on October 12th to,
I would have to get that to Andy
And
by,
they need it
by
prior.
5 o'clock on, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to move it to November? I think we need to move it to November, so we have one more meeting and a little bit more time, now that I'm looking at the dates.
Agreed. I know you're ready. She's all.
yeah, I think just being new on the
I just-
committee, we're like so ready
Yeah.
to get things done.
That's
I
right.
just kind of have that personality.
so then when would the meeting be after our November meeting, Joan?
That would be the 15th. You would present, that would be the 15th, and then you would meet on the 9th
Of December?
of November. That's November.
Okay, so we're in September right now, so I think Jennifer was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, were you proposing we would have the October and November meeting to get everything all finalized?
Yes.
And then after that, when is the next meeting after the November commission meeting?
So after that is the 20th, December 20th.
November 20th?
December.
That's the next council meeting?
That would be, yeah, if you want to meet in October and November, well, actually, if you want to meet in October, November, and you finalize, like, what you want to do in November, you could do the December 6th meeting.
I think that's good. What do the rest of you think?
Okay, so I just want to clarify, our meetings are October 12th and November 9th, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and then the council meetings are when?
The first and third Monday of the month.
Okay,
So December the 6th and 20th is what she was
Well,
saying.
what comes after the November 9th meeting?
December the
Is there one
6th.
Our meeting or the council, or the city council?
Our commission meeting is November 9th.
9th, and then the city meeting is the 15th.
The 15th?
Yes, the council.
So if we decided everything at the November 9th meeting, couldn't we go to the council meeting on November 15th?
I have to get on the agenda on the 9th.
Right.
So if you want me to get on the, if you want us to
Just a
get,
little
if you
time.
want to be on the agenda for the 15th, I can let them know that now, if you think you'll be ready.
But
So let's
December
go
the
for it.
6th makes sure it guarantees. It's just a few more days.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I mean,
you-
I found out information within a
Yeah.
half an hour.
Right?
Like,
Okay.
it's not
Which
that.
one of y'all, I mean, the pressure is more on you guys for pieces of it, right? So I'm just.
Right.
I want to make sure you'll be able to get what you need. We have talked about it, whatever we got to do, whatever homework we have.
And you need to let them, to get on the November 15th meeting agenda, you
I-
have to know by when.
The 9th.
Oh.
By the 9th of November.
And that's when we
That's
meet.
plenty of time.
And
Okay,
that's
I'm
when we
not,
meet.
So,
That's what we
so
Okay.
if you think you're ready, I can let them know.
Yes.
Okay, so you
I will
want
know
to
by
be
next
on
week.
the, you want to be on the agenda on the November 15th agenda, city council meeting.
Yes.
Will it be too late to give what we're recommending for the plan after our meeting on the 9th?
I don't think so. I'll just tell them you want to talk about the public art plan, and we'll just leave it at that. So it leaves it a little bit open.
That's perfect.
Okay,
We'll just say public art.
okay.
And they do, I noticed though, as you guys know, they like to have it, and it doesn't have to be like a whole week in advance, but they want to be able to see it, view it, and then, just like us, you know, they want to be able to see it, and then they'll be more open to what we're talking about.
Yeah, I would definitely come with photos and numbers, and they're gonna ask a lot of questions.
Right.
Probably they'd like to ask questions, this council, so I would be prepared with what you think they're going to ask.
Yeah, budgets and different things, artists names. all that.
I can also talk with Andy and Lindsay and find out like what should you have for sure.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I am
Let's
too.
roll with it. Get things done.
How do y'all feel about that?
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to go back and, because I know there's something else that was my homework. I think that
Do you
like
have?
Julie and Joan, I did take good notes. I don't have my notes from the workshop here tonight, but we could go back and look.
I'm just, you know me, I'm just cautious, so I wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable. As soon as I heard you felt good, okay, November 15th.
Do we know? Was there anything else from our workshop that we needed to report on?
Probably not tonight.
There probably was, but we just don't have, our main pieces, which is Joan and Julie here. So.
I know that, I think what both of you talked about is what I remember, and then we talked about Gateway Park, and it might be 5 years before sculpture could be in there, because there's other things that need to be done with that, but starting for long-term, bigger projects, we talked about that too as a,
But how cool would it be if you could get a sculpture from the glow and show people what it would look
right,
like?
exactly.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. I just wanted to say that.
I think
Because I'm excited about it.
I think I was supposed to ask Karen Ellers about the Clemson Community Care
Yes.
sculpture.
See, that's the kind of thing that I'm like,
Is-
there's other stuff.
Right.
We
Is
just-
that on
We need
our?
to regroup.
Do you remember where that was on our 135?
It was one.
It was
Yeah.
one.
So I know that there's other homework things. We just need to.
Karen Carter.
And I think
something.
if we could put that on the agenda for next week, and then we can email it one another and say, hey, remember that was a part of the homework. Remember that was, we agreed to be on the first year plan. So
In
we
addition-
can just check in with each other.
In addition, because it's in that wonderful chart, but people, they like to see stuff and it'll be small up here. If we could create like a brief visual,
Yes.
I don't mind if I help work on that type of thing. But like, just divide it up by the year so they can kind of see that as snapshots, and then the details, we can talk about details, but people like to see it in bite-sized chunks like that.
And Meredith, I think putting together like the steps that were taken, like how, you went around to all of the locations, and Nia looked at the map too, and so we know where the locations are in the city and which ones we think are ideal for public art, like walking them through the process of how we got to,
And then it was cross-verified with Lindsay, Newton,
Yes.
who knows the city from their side. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we can make that happen. So it is 7:45.
And it'd probably be really good too, to know what pieces will be shared, like if we're gonna divide it up, if there's gonna be one person, like that kind of thing, for the coordination of it. Right.
I would guess, you know, I'm happy to help with the presentation,
Right.
pulling the pieces together. To me, I think it needs to be Joan
Yes, absolutely.
who's doing that, and
We're just as support.
Okay.
Joan, I think on the next agenda, I would offer, Baker is fantastic, and he's had a lot of great ideas, but maybe we need to have, and communicate with him, like maybe we need to have a new vice chair since he's remote and he's unable to attend for this term. I mean, and we welcome him back when he comes back, but if he's unable to attend the meetings and unable to carry out his duties, then maybe we need to have a conversation about that at our next meeting too.
I loved that he is willing to help us with that map, and I think he would be a great asset when we do present on November 15th. I think he's got some graphic design experience, and so he could
Architect.
really make
Yes.
our presentation very clear and beautiful and easy to understand.
Yeah, and I only offer that for consideration just from a meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
Not
I
from a
agree.
standpoint, not because of his
Absolutely.
lack of leadership and
No.
lack of engagement.
Right. I just remembered when you said his name, I was like, oh
Right.
wait, he could do
Because you just got to be able to hold them.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Great.
What else do we need to talk about tonight?
I think we just need to say our next step is to look over notes and maybe we start sharing some emails of like what we remember was supposed to happen at the workshop so we can present at the next meeting. And
So I think maybe we have to consider Carol's request, and we have to consider,
Yes.
I think maybe we consider like the draft plan, like we review the draft plan, where we are with that, and get it into shape during this meeting so that we're ready to vote on it at our November meeting.
okay. Well, since I did a lot of the Excel spreadsheet, I will get with Joan and see, and Julie to see if they
I'm
have
sorry,
any additional
Meredith,
notes.
I am so sorry.
Since I did the Excel spreadsheet, I will get with Julie and Joan just to see if they had any extra things to put on there, and then we can like circulate
Okay.
like the
Thank
final
you.
like workshop kind of thing. Okay.
So do we know if she has? We don't know if for the garden shed. No, we decided she could just take someone's
She's
art,
going to come
right?
back with the budget. She was coming back with the
We
budget.
heard her comments tonight, and I think she needs to give some information to Joan so that
Right.
there's something for us to consider at the next meeting, like, are we gonna support what she's proposing? And
Okay.
recommending that to the city council, or are we saying we're not recommending it? And then she is also able to go directly to the city council and ask for their support.
And
It's
she's
my
looking at-
understanding of non-CACC initiated
Yeah. So
projects.
if you don't recommend it, she could still go to get on council's agenda, and she could present it, and
Get
she
a
would, they would ask, have you gone to our commission? Do they what was their recommendation? And she can, say, I went, they don't recommend it because of this, and they can make their own decision.
Right.
Can we
And she's
recommend
going to be
it?
looking at the budget. She's also looking at or attempting to look at a budget too, right? That was the other recommendation we had.
Could we recommend it, but not fund it, or fund part of it?
Or say fund it up to this portion.
You can recommend it, and she can either fund a portion or ask council to fund it. Yeah.
Okay.
And that
Yeah.
goes back to, we had our workshop in place and we need to figure out, okay, this is the money that we have and this is what we're going to spend in the first year. But what's the side money for this type of project that we don't even know is going to come our way. So that's
You have
another
to
thing.
think about that for
Yeah.
Right.
what you maybe want
Because-
to put some money aside for just
Right.
pop-up things.
Because, I mean, that's beautiful that we have community members coming to us and we want to be able
Yes.
to take care of what they want to do.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
Okay, any more discussion on the plan?
No, I just wanted to give a quick reminder of those who would be able to attend. I do understand our schedules are how our schedules are, but that the community talks that we talked about with Dr. Brenda Thomas will be on September 26th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Nettles Park. And we'll have the historical talks and talk about the Green Book tour and things of that nature at that time.
So can you report back on that then? Can you put that on the agenda too, Joan? About, Mia, can you report back on how those talks went?
Will do.
And perfect. Is there any new business we need to consider tonight? Then, hearing no new business, I would like to adjourn this meeting tonight.
thank you.
Is there any opposition to